Hey, Gumby.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Ha, joke's on you. I already checked the microphone before the stream started. Booyah!
What, your mom buy you a pewter for Christmas?
I mean, not since I got a big boy job. But she did in the past, and it was very sweet.
Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Thankfully, I haven't needed to, which kind of surprises me. But I do need to turn on this Jocko drink. That's right. The keyword is yet. Agent 57. That's right. Yet. I do have a short blog post I want to go over before we dive back into Kubernetes tonight. Right. I feel like I've got everything set up, but I know I'm missing something. I think it might be just you, Gumby, because, I mean, the music levels haven't changed, I don't think. But if y'all are noticing it too, let me know in the chat. All right. Oh, I just noticed the timer ran out. Let's get this started. What's up, everybody? I hope you're all having a fantastic weekend. I had a sub-fantastic weekend because my crushing it mode blew right past Friday into today because I was going through the report that I'm working on and noticed there were some issues with the data, and as I was trying to pull it out, it just completely got BTFO'd. So I had to go re-pull down a bunch of data. And that was hard because one of the guys I was working on it with is currently taking his OSWE. That's the Offensive Security Web Expert exam. And that's a 48-hour exam. So the time I noticed it was like right in the middle of his exam. And he had the only copy that I needed. And it wasn't his fault. We thought it got uploaded to our central file sharing system. And when I went to go pull it down is when I noticed the issue. So I was like, no. So yeah, crushing it mode extended into today, and it will be extending into tomorrow because stuff happens. I was trying to explain it to Agent Zero, and he felt really bad about it. I was like, buddy, I don't want to be working right now, but daddy's got bills to pay. So, yeah, that's basically what I did today. I did throw a couple of racks of ribs on the smoker, though. So that was nice for dinner. Made sure the sock didn't have to cook dinner tonight. Let me pull up something real quick here. Where is it? This one. Here we go. Let's see where we left off on the cube goats. I never did have time, because of this report, to go through and track down what was going on with the Container D service. So I'm not going to worry about it. I think I'm just going to move on from there. Let's see. Cry tools for some reason wasn't working. I think it was a permissions change issue actually in Kubernetes that was stopping us after we compromised the pod that had the socket exposed for Container D, us spinning up other ones. But you know what? I'm not so worried about it. It's fine. We can do other stuff. Just say F those bills. Unfortunately, I can't. Because, when was this? I guess it was about a year ago. Sock left her job to basically stay home and take care of the boys. She's homeschooling them. So that's pretty much what her full-time job is. So pays big dividends for the future, but doesn't bring in a lot of active cash flow. So, gotta keep the grind up. When the grind comes, the grind comes. It waits for no one. All right. Let's see here. We spent a lot of time on that Docker and Docker one, but that was because there were issues with, like I said, with some of the configuration in the Kubernetes cluster. It's fine. The idea was kind of proven out. I would have liked to have dug into it more, but I'm tired of that exercise. Let's move on to the next one. Let's see. I know you are, Gumby. But I find the best way to make someone who's throwing a joke uncomfortable is to turn the joke back around on them. They're like, I'm like, yeah, let me just judo flip this humor right back on you. Oh, okay, Gummy. Take care, man. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping in. Let's see. Okay, so here's the next one. Doing a server-side request forgery in the Kubernetes world. Let's see. So this is the second one. There's a whole bunch of other ones in here. That's why I didn't want to spend too much time on the Docker and Docker, the DIND, because we still got SSRF, container escaping to the host system. Let's see. CIS benchmark analysis. Oh, I don't know if I want to spend a lot of time on that. I don't know. We'll take a look at them. Let's see. Attacking private registries. Done that before. Node port exposed. Oh, wonder what they're doing with that one. Going through some Helm, which Helm is something I'm not very familiar with. Oh, that one's deprecated. And we'll probably get rid of that. There's a crypto miner container. Oh, cool. So he's just been probably mining Monero on my server this whole time. Let's see. Ooh, namespace bypasses. That would be cool. Because remember, Kubernetes uses namespaces to kind of like logically isolate and group everything together. Let's see. Environment information, denial of service through memory and CPU resources. Probably skip that one. Not so concerned about that one. Yeah, so he's got a whole bunch of ones in here. Ooh, something on Cilium. Nice. I would like to definitely take a look at that one. Okay. But anyway, so the one we're on right now is the one for the server-side request forgery. Oh yeah, Guy, I had been looking at Paperclip, and it was cool to see what you were doing with it up on Discord. I just have not had a chance to go spin it up. So I've been so busy the last week with reporting, I just haven't gotten to it yet. So yeah, I wanted to go spin up like a hypothetical company and kind of like play around with it. Okay, hold on. Let me pull that up for anybody who's wondering. I think it's because you linked to the GitHub repo, but I think the actual one is like paperclip.ai. I think that's it. Hold on. I don't trust that URL. Paperclip AI orchestration. Let me see. I'll tell you. Let me go to the GitHub. And because it should link to the actual like main page in there. Docs. Oh, it is paperclip.ing. That's hilarious. Paperclip ing. That's funny. Hold on. What was Paperclip AI? Because that actually pulled up a page. Hardware in the loop. Powertrain optimization for OEM embedded insurance solutions. That looks sus. Little sus. Anyway. Okay, enough of that. But yeah, so Paperclip is... let me see if I can pull it up here. Let's see if they have a picture of like the interface in here. So the basic idea is that Paperclip is using all AI agents to like assume different roles in what would be a hypothetical company. So like a CEO, a CTO, CFO, engineers, and correct me if I'm wrong, Guy, because you've gone through this process. So you basically start with the first agent, which is a CEO, and then it goes through and kind of hires all the sub agents. Am I right? And I think they're even going to have a system set up where like, you could share different types of companies that were already created. Okay, yeah, so that is the correct way. All right. And so you can go create a company, set your goal, create your CEO agent, build your org chart, setting budgets for them and stuff like that. It's really cool. Let's see. I wonder if they had any... maybe on the GitHub they've got actual pictures of the interface. Yeah, so it looks kind of like this. Right? And so you can kind of see how the agents are kind of talking and orchestrating to each other. It'll track like your token spend, stuff like that. So yeah, I thought about throwing this up with something like, I don't know, some AI model up on an open router just to play with and be like, you know, make $1 million, no mistakes. Something like that. I figured that would be fun to do someday. But I just haven't gotten there yet, Guy. It's on my to-do list, the ever-expanding to-do list. Actually, hang on. Let me see if I can find something real quick. I think it's xai.md. Or AXI. Is that the right one? AXI format for AI tools. This was something else that came up, I think. Yeah, it is axi.md. Okay, the website used to look different. Maybe they've gone through and redone it. But the idea here is that this is the agent experience interface. And so the reason I'm looking at this is because the Mythic MCP server, I'm actually looking to create a parallel version that is in this AXI format to go test it out and see what's up. Sin, what's up, man? Dude, I haven't seen your beautiful name in chat in a while. Hope you've been doing well. Yes, it has been a minute. I was just going through it and talk about a couple of neat things I had seen that we didn't get to cover on the news stream real fast. And so the idea here is, let me see, basically to more or less create, I think, like CLI applications that will come back and return data to you. So rather than always returning JSON, it's going to return tune, which is tabs. Oh, I forget what tune stands for. Oh, token optimized object notation. And so it's almost pretty much like CSV, more or less. CSV with a different header. That's what it's doing. Oh, that's right. You said you were running Paperclip to like help out your landlord, right? That sounds pretty awesome. But anyway, here, so I'll drop this in the chat since I know a lot of y'all are working on this kind of stuff. It was just something neat, especially if you're developing any kind of tooling that's going to be working with some of the AI agents. I'm going to use this personally. I actually already had Harvey go through and analyze it and create rules for developing tools using this kind of loose standard. And then I'm going to go add it over to the Mythic MCP server. All right, let me see. All right, so anyway, back over to the Kubernetes one. So we've gone through finding sensitive keys in the code base. So quick recap, this one was, there was an exposed.get file. It had all the deltas in it. We were able to completely reconstruct all the commits. And after we did that, they had accidentally committed an API key. We captured that. That was the first exercise. The second one was getting to the Docker in Docker exposed container D socket onto the system. We did that one. So now we're going to go through the server-side request forgery. So this scenario showcases the popular application security vulnerability getting exploited everywhere in the cloud environments. So now we'll try to see how it impacts Kubernetes clusters, internal services, and microservices. This was quite a large impact in cloud-native environments. One of the real-world examples included Shopify's SSRF in Exchange leads to root access to all instances. Oof. Oof. That's bad. What is this right? This is the KubeGoats, Kubernetes Goat. So if you go check that out, it is a purpose-built, like kind of like, think of it as like damn vulnerable Kubernetes. And I just recently came off a pen test where I was doing a lot of Kubernetes, and I thought it'd be fun to go back and do like a refresher of the basics in there. Now the test I was doing was on a very, very, very customized version of Kubernetes. Like they left no config unturned. They had tuned everything. It was a lot of banging my head against a brick wall. So, but it gave me the idea, hey, you know what? I need a little bit of break from working on Hackbot. So, and the Mythic MCP server is largely good. I was like, let's go through and do some Kubernetes. Let's do some actual hackage for a little bit. So this one, here's the story behind this scenario. The server-side request forgery becomes the go-to attack for cloud-native environments. Here in this scenario, we'll see how we can exploit an application vulnerability like SSRF to gain access to cloud instance metadata as well as internal services metadata. Especially, we'll see the power of the native features in Kubernetes like service discovery to leverage and gain access to other internal microservices. Ooh, nice. I like SSRF. So hold on, let me see if I can find a good diagram that explains. Let me see, does this one actually explain how SSRF works? I'm trying to think of how to explain it best. Kinda does. Not necessarily. Hold on. Let's see. Let me see if there's a good visual representation of it, because I don't even feel like drawing it out. Oh, there we go. Hold on. We'll go to the authority in this. Portswigger. So an SSRF is a web security vulnerability that allows attackers to cause the server-side application to make a request to an unintended location. So you could almost think about it as like a web request relay. in here. So in a typical SSRF attack, the attacker might cause the server to make a connection to an internal-only service within the organization's infrastructure. In other cases, they may be able to force the server to connect to an arbitrary external system, which could leak sensitive data, such as authorization credentials. So that's the idea, is that we find some vulnerability in the web app, and then we can tell it, oh, hey, Paul, thanks for coming online. So the idea is for SSRF is we find some function in the web app that is supposed to make it call out to a particular system. We can hijack that call and get it to call back to our system or to some other thing in the environment. Or perhaps make like a restricted API call that we're not supposed to be able to touch, but we can kind of use the web server to bounce it over to the other one. Oh, that's cool, Sin, that you're working on that stuff, especially the Mac OS stuff. Because, dude, a Mac tradecraft is exploding right now. Hold on, I have not checked out IceCube. Let me look at this real quick. Damn it, I copied it and then I closed it. Hang on. Bear with me, because I have to copy this between two computers. There we go. Ice, baby. Tool to help find attack paths within Kubernetes clusters from low privilege point to a preferred location, typically the cluster admin. I do like me some cluster admin. So it looks like they're using Neo4j. It looks, I mean, just from the read of it, it sounds pretty cool, but it sounds like it's like Bloodhound customized for Kubernetes, but that is kind of cool. Yeah, similar to Bloodhound. Okay, got it. Oh, sorry, Popo. I did see your question, but I was on a rant there. Let's see. Do anything about Alsoluic services? What is that? Hang on, let me look. Doesn't sound familiar. It sounds like that is actually the Acer updater. Or technically, actually, there's some other folks saying that it's a Bitcoin mining virus. Which, unfortunately, the best way to kind of get rid of those is to back up your data and wipe your computer. Yeah, unfortunately, so especially if you're on a lot of systems, persistence mechanisms have gotten so good. So persistence is you get some kind of malware on your computer, it infects it, and after that happens, they will go through and they'll basically hide little triggers in your computer in various places of code to enable to get it to like pop back up and fire. However, there can be a massive pain to clear those off. So usually the main thing is you tell people, hey, just back up your shit and wipe your computer. Wouldn't surprise you if Acer actually put out a Bitcoin miner. That would be kind of funny. Yeah. I hate to tell you that, Popo, but that is the 100% foolproof way of nixing that off the system. The good news is you get a freshly configured computer. So fresh and so clean. Also, Exoshadow, thank you for coming online. Welcome in. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic Saturday. Even though I was working all day doing reporting, it was a fairly chill day. It's just, I would rather have been doing anything else. Yeah, most of the time, those don't get down into the firmware level, Icarus. That's a bit much to be doing for like a simple Bitcoin infection system. There is one tool that you could go try and see if it might get rid of it. Let's see. I think it's from sysinternals called startups. Oh, sorry, called auto runs. So there's a suite of tools called sysinternals. One of those tools is called auto runs, Polpol, but I would only recommend running this if you are very comfortable tinkering in the guts of your system. And I say it that way because that really is what you're doing, right? Don't take this the wrong way, but a lot of people feel like they are comfortable in their computers because they use them every day. But and then think that they can go through and probably fix them or change some stuff in them. That's the same difference, though, saying I know how to go fix my car or change the engine because I drive it every day. Two completely different levels of use. One is like deep understanding and modification understanding, and the other one is like surface user level understanding. And so we've all got that kind of split in just about everything we do. And so, like, for example, there's a lot of people that think, like, nowadays, like a lot of younger kids, they really understand computers well, and when they don't even understand like how a file system works. They've got a super surface, very comfortable surface level understanding. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Band, is like, unless you're knowledgeable, you've been working in IT or like customizing your computers for a long time, I wouldn't run this. I would go with the wipe and reinstall, because 100% that's going to work. SFC scan now. I ran that so many times, dude, when I was trying to track down what was causing the computer to blue screen before I realized the CPU was dying on it. I still have it. Hold on, where is it? Here we go. Yeah, there's the one that died. It gets to sit up here and watch the computer have fun with the new CPU. It's in a special chair. You know what chair I'm talking about. It sits right there next to the computer. It doesn't get to play, only gets to watch. That's the price of failure. Can I keep my old components and stuff? I mean, the main thing is just back up any data that you need, right? The chances of it having infected data is not what I expected, Band. The chances of having it like put a backdoor in some kind of like specific data, I wouldn't do that. But don't take any programs with you. Back up like any documents that you need, PDFs, things like that. And then take all that stuff, get it off the computer, and then wipe it. Basically, anything that you can't go reinstall is what you want to get off that computer. Also, for your own sake, you want to think about where that infection might have come from. If it came from maybe you're downloading things from the high seas, then maybe think about like how that could have happened and where to avoid that particular one again. Yeah. Yes, always. All right. I totally forgot where I was. Oh, that's right. We were talking about SSRF, server-side request forwarding. Yeah. So like I said, the idea here, I'll tell you what, I was avoiding drawing something on it, but you know what? I will draw something on it. Hold on. Can I back this up? I can't. Anyway, that's fine. This will be the first little wing. So let's say like we've got our PC right here, right? And then we're talking to a computer. So this will be the server that is up somewhere on the web. So there's our server, right? And the server has some open ports. So let's say we've got like port 80 open. That's our web port. And let's say this one's bound to like all IP addresses, right? It's on quad zeros. But then we have another one over here that's like a management port. So we'll say this is on like port 123. This one's only going to be bound to our loopback here. So that'll be like our 127 address, right? So as far as connectivity is concerned, we can reach this guy. But if we try to connect over to this one, since it's listening on that 127 address, that is a no-go. So how could we potentially connect to that? Well, if the application that's being served here, so we'll say app, if this one's being served has an SSRF, it will allow us to make requests from this guy down to it. Sometimes we can capture the data back, not always. It depends on the application. Sometimes it's a blind SSRF, sometimes it's a fully visible one. But we can essentially hijack a function in this web server to get it to talk to a different one. Thorboard. Eventually, I'll get the iPad set back up so I can draw on it. It's fine. Hey, Popo, if it says Q&A on the stream title, you're totally cool. You can ask all the guys who've been watching for a long time. They know that I have zero issues taking like a hard left detour into something to help folks out, if it's something I can help out with. And no, it happens all the time. It works well with my ADD. So, which I usually keep in pretty good check, but for some reason, during the live streams, just gets dialed up to 11. What does sock do? Keeps your feet warm. Yeah. All right, we already talked about the story. Okay, so this one's running on 1232. Let me pull that one up. Let's see what we've got. Internal API proxy. Ooh. Okay. So for this one, I don't have anything pulled up. Hold on, we'll pull up in... Oh, they added the MCP server to this. Oh, gross. Gross. Turn off the what's new. No, go to just the console. There we go. Actually, I don't even want the console. Go away. There we go. Damn it. Yeah, MCP server. I mean, I like the idea of just having like a built-in MCP server to the browser, but I don't want it in this browser. No. No. All right, let's see here. Let's go. Let's see what's open on here. So we know that this is open. I guess what we want to do is we want to figure out like what's open on the internal here. So we can reasonably suspect this is not the actual web port that's listening. It's probably running on 80 and this port is being forwarded to something. So let's see if we can just get to, let's see. Can we just get to like port 80? Basically have it talk to itself on the exact same port. Method get, yeah, sure, submit. Let's see what happens. Response kind of came back explaining. Okay, so now I'm going to try something weird. I'm going to try the nice loopback. Let's see what happens. Okay, so that still came back with like 200, so I know that's probably not right. What if I did like 1.1.1.1? Okay, so we get this. We got a 301. That's fine. All right, so we know 127 isn't working in here, or at least not like that, right? So 127.0.0.1 is probably working. However, it's probably the port that it's not liking. Okay, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. What we do is we just come over here. I think it's probably this one. Let me copy this as a curl command for the bash. And then, let's see. Do I need any of this? I don't think so. We'll throw it away. All right, we probably don't need any of this other stuff in here as well. So let's clean up the headers. We don't care about the language. Keep alive. Don't care about do not track. Probably don't care about the origin and refer. Don't care about GPC. User agent. I doubt it's going to be filtering our user agent, so we'll just get rid of that. We'll just leave it like this. Boom, boom. Data, endpoint, insecure. All right, excellent. So, let's rearrange this a wee bit. And then we'll throw this over into the terminal right here. Okay, so now the cool thing is we can take this and... Oh, how do I do this? I think it's like this. What is it? Gotta remember. Bash burial sub in single quote. I gotta remember how to do that. I forget what the exact syntax is. No, that's not what I wanted. I think it's like $. There's a way to do it with $1 in a single quote, and I forget what that function is. Actually, I think we could just do it like this. So what we want to do is we want to turn this into a variable, and then we'll just have it go down and basically do a port scan, and we'll figure out like what's open in there. So I believe what we'll do is close this, and then do it like that, and then do $. We'll call this port, and then reopen it like this. I think that will work. So let's go throw that over in the terminal. I think that's the correct one. Here, let me back this thing up. CD, let's clear this out. And then what I'm going to do first is we'll do port is going to equal, I don't know, 8080, like this. And then just to double check that it's set, we'll do echo port. All right, it's 8080. So now if we take this and drop in this command, it should try to reach out to this guy right here. And that's not going to work because we need a verbose output. Okay, so it did come back with a 200. Let's see if it came back. What actually got sent to it real quick. I tell you what, there's an easier way to do this real fast. Just echo. If we echo this, and then if we don't see the correct port in here, there we go. So it showed port 8080. We're good. Gucci. Wait, guy. Because, yeah, everybody knew that. We were just waiting for Anthropic to say something because Opus has been acting like an absolute turd bucket. So bad, I've been going back to experimenting with getting off of Claude Code very seriously. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Let me see what they came up with on this. Because, yeah, Opus has been pissing me off. I mean, not Opus specifically, but OpenAI has been like, or not OpenAI, what is this? Anthropic has been like just churning through freaking tokens. I have a Mac subscription, right? That's $100 a month. And I had some heavy workloads going, never hit my usage cap. I hit it within the first hour now. It is brutal. So, breaking, Anthropic confirms Claude Opus 4.6 degradation. Spokesperson said the issue was caused by Mythos breaking into the data center and deciding to prank users by serving a quantized model. When questioned, Mythos said it thought the users were too dumb to notice. Damn it, guy. You got me. You got me. My first hint was that there was no top reply from him with the link to the actual announcement. Well, if he was April Fool's, he's 10 days late. But it would have been even funnier if it had happened on April Fool's. Damn it. That's still pretty funny, though. Just blame it all on Mythos. Too funny. All right. Anyway. Back to where we were. I gotta remember how to do this. Let me see. Okay, so that's how we're gonna do this. All right. Let me copy this out real quick. Actually, hold on. I gotta remember. I think there's a way. Check if... Actually, never mind. We don't have to worry about that. Because that's fine. Because we take this command. Yeah. Let's go edit this real quick. So we take this. This is the actual command that we want to go run, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this in a for loop. So we're just going to do this old school, hard way. So for I in... I believe this will do... Yeah, so what we can do is, actually, we can do it like this. We can do $sequence. From 1 to, I don't know, we'll say 1,000. Right, like this. And then what we'll have say is do all this stuff. And then we'll say done, like this. So now what this should do is go through, well, actually, we're going to take out the tag V here. Actually, just realized I got the command doubled up in here. There we go. And then this is actually going to change to... There we go. So for port in here, run through and do this. And actually, what I want to do first is, I want to do one more thing. Let's echo this guy right here. What we're actually trying to hit. So we'll echo out what we're doing. And then we're going to put one more, just echo for pretty formatting there at the end. All right, cool. Yes. So, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Just make it look a little bit prettier. So now this for loop should go through and hit every port between 1 and 999. So drop this out, clear it. And we'll just let this run until it hits something. We could have done like a prettier version where it's like, hey, if the content is X length or is greater than 0, do that. But we'll just basically let this guy run for a second. If we really wanted to get fancy, we'd go through and we'd do it like, what is it? We do it with like multi-threading and like have it go through and do it. In fact, actually, you know what we could do? We should be able to do this with FUF. Hold the phone. Let me remind myself what is the FUF option for this. Hang on. I'm trying to find the syntax for FUF. Okay, so what we'll need to do for this fund is, let me try something real quick. Echo, let's do a sequence. We got to build a list for this, so I'm just gonna do like 1 to 10 in here. Hold on, what did I have for the syntax in here? Where is this? We're gonna do a little bit of bashy bash. Yeah, that should have been fine. Oh no, I'm an idiot. There we go. That's the problem. We had the semicolon in the wrong place. Okay, there we go. Oh, it does do up to 10 inclusive. Okay, I didn't think it did. Yeah, because what I want to do now is... Actually, this is even easier. I forgot about that. We can do 1 to, I don't know, we'll check like the first 10,000 ports. And then what we'll do is we'll just put that into ports.txt. So now if we do a head on ports, right, but we've got all that. So now what we should be able to do is do a little bit of FUF action on here. Do I have FUF? I don't have FUF. That is unfortunate. Hang on, let me figure out where to go grab it from. I think I just have to grab the binary off of GitHub. No, that's FUF scripts. Here we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, here's the page. Let's go grab a copy of FUF because I just don't have it on this particular system. All right, here we go. So we'll come over here to releases, and wait, hold on. I surely didn't already download this, did I? Do I have FUF? I do. Oh yeah, there's FUF right there. Why didn't it show it before? Okay, cool. Because I forgot we used that on the last one. Okay, so now what we should be able to do is, let me see. I think what we can do is we can do FUF, and we'll do ports.txt. We're going to bind that to the port keyword, and then for our URL, that's going to be the system we're trying to hit. So in this case, it's going to be 10.9.20.1, 20.1. And we had this on port 122. There we go. So we're just going to set it up like with what we're hitting, and then we're going to do a post request. And then I think we want to set a couple of headers on here as well. So this is kind of like the curl command that we just did. So we do want to say, Yeah, this right here, application JSON. We do want that. So let's go build that out real fast. All right, and then after we get our application JSON, I think that's it. No, wait, we actually had to have the post body in here, which would be, I think it's just this part here. Oh wait, we can add headers to it? Ooh, look at that. We can do the method and the headers. Nice, okay. So we want attack D. Attack D is nuts. All right, my bad. Sorry about that, guys. All right, port. Let's see. Yeah, that should be it right there. I haven't had to use FUF very much in forever. All right, that should be good right there. So then we do tac D, boop. And then one other one we're going to say, we'll just try it. We'll see what happens. Oh, that's what happened. I misspelled FUF because I'm an idiot. There we go. Now, all these are coming back as 200s. Hopefully, it should flag one that has a content length that's odd. We'll let it run for a second. We'll see what happens. Because all these should be returning, I think, pretty much. Oh, I cleared the output. Can't go back and double check it. Because it was returning basically almost like a 0 length or very low length content. In fact, hold on. We can check it in the browser. We come back over. Meow. We go look here. The content length was 0. Yeah. So if the content length comes back as 0, then we know that it's not going to be doing anything. I had to do something similar like this on backdoor using FUF. That's one of your first write-ups. Ooh, nice. So we had 12 errors. Those might be worth checking out. All right, just so you know, I cheated because I knew that there should be something listening on port 5000 and we've blown past it, so it didn't pick that up. So I wanted to see what was going to happen in here. Let me try something real quick. Let's set the port to 5000 and then try this again. There we go. So what we should have seen in here, let's go figure out what happened with FUF, but I just wanted to verify this is what was actually working in here. So let me see. Where do I filter for content length? Let's see. Checking the docs real quick. Okay, so we actually can use FUF for this because we come to FUF, we tell it do FS, like we want it more than, let's see, but we just want to filter zeros in here. But hold on, before I do that, I want to redo our port.txt file. Because I already know where the answer is, so I'm just going to trim it down a bit. We'll do 4,500 to 5,500. And then we'll rerun FUF. FUF didn't miss the port, but I don't think it was worth looking at it because it comes back as a 200 response. So I'm curious. I'm just kind of tinkering with it now. It looks like it should have hit it because we saw what happened with it, right? Up here, when we did the curl, we actually did info. Refer to internal metadata DB for more information. So I just wanted to see what was going on and like a better way to detect that. Let's see, what was the content length of what it returned? Content length 69? Nice. Hold on, let me try something else real quick. I'm gonna set the port to 5001 and then rerun the curl command. Right? Content length 0. Let me check something real quick. Yeah, so that should be filtering size 0 requests. Response matcher says everything from 200 to 299, 301s, 302s, 307s, 401s, 403s, 405s, and 500s. I don't have the proxy up for this one. I thought this would have worked. Maybe this is what's wrong. Tech V show it? No, Tech V doesn't show it either. I don't know. Let's go try it. Let's see. Slash. I don't think so because we copied that directly from the request that was being sent to it. So like, if we wanted to verify this again, we could come over here, tell it, hey, go check, 5,000. Right here, submit, and boom, we see that. So in the request, if we look at it, the payload is 5,000 with no trailing slash in there. No headers, no methods, nothing like that. Really, at this point, we know what the issue is. I'm just trying to figure out how to make Fuff, like, not miss this whenever I know that something's happening in here. Because everything's coming back as a content length of 0. Let me see here. No manual entry for Fuff. RIP. Oh, it's because I spelled it wrong again. It's really Fuff. This is filter the response size, common list of accepted ranges. We wanted to filter out 0. Let me try something here. I just want to see what it does if I just throw it in here as a hard-coded. So, yeah, nothing found there. Take that out. Oh, wait, hold on. Does it need to be... I tell you what, let me try this because I haven't tried it before with like using a custom binding setup. Let me just try this. Buzz. Let me check this curl command again. So that was 5001. Oh no, that was dollar port in here. Take this out. Let me just do 5000. Yeah. So here we see everything that was coming back in there. Oh, that was not the smart move. So FS0 should be working, but it's not. Let me try something real fast here. Yeah, even that's not coming back with showing anything. See that? It's just blank. So try copying the request to a file and using the TAC R flag. We could try that too. Let's do this. Let's see. Copy. Which one is this? I think that only gives me the request headers, though. Yeah, I need the actual request body. Normally, I'd be doing this in Burp Suite, but I don't have Burp Suite set up on this computer. So we're just doing it by hand. Actually, let me try copying as fetch. Will that give me what I want? No, that doesn't give it. I mean, if we copy it as a curl command, I mean, we pretty much kind of get everything that we need in here. In fact, this pretty much gives it to us in here. Then we just need the payload. So if we come up here and copy that, drop it in here, I believe we can just do it like this. I think this will work. But we'll probably pick this up. It's really easy over in Burp Suite to do this. It's a little bit more cumbersome whenever you're doing it by hand. All right, I'm going to take out... Actually, I'll just leave all this stuff in here. I don't even care. We'll make this the fuzz parameter right here. And then, yeah, we'll put this over into a request file. So, vim rec.txt. We do like that. And then now for the fuffs, what we'll do is take out a whole bunch of this stuff right here. And make this, we'll just do it like that. And then we'll do tac r rec.txt. I believe that should work. No, it didn't like that. I thought TACR was the request one. Hang on. Oh no, so it's just TAC request. Really? TACR doesn't do it? That is rude. I thought they shared syntax in there. Sin. I thought TACR was the same for, I mean, I don't use Spuff very much, but yeah, I know it is for SQL map whenever you're using that. I don't have to use these tools, thankfully, on a day-to-day basis anymore. A lot of the stuff that I do is now very white box. So I just get to go dig through the code. Oh yeah. By the way, not sponsored by Jocko yet.
Arno Gumby cheered 5 bits and says, I remember when I pooped once. Now I pooped twice or even 3 times.
I'm happy for you, Gumby. Am I doing a lot of web apps? Not really anymore, no. I do have something coming up where it's a combination of like a web app and some other stuff, but it's less about the web app and kind of more about the back-end surface. So there will be that portion to it. I don't know. I'm not getting more details until later, whenever we have the actual like client kickoff call. Let me take this out. Maybe it doesn't like, I don't know why it doesn't like this. So you might be wondering, why are we spending so much time messing with this? It's because I need to know exactly how it's going through and doing this. The solutions are actually pretty easy. However, if I wanted to go through and check this for SSRF, that's what I want to actually go through and find. At my last job, though, Sin, I did do a lot of web apps. It was very frequent. But I've been at my current company for a year and a half, and so it's amazing how quickly some of your skills kind of get rusty when you're not doing things for a while. I think there's a debug flag. Do tac debug log. Let me try that. Honestly, I'm just experimenting with a little bit of fluff action right now. I wanted to see what it was doing. We'll just call this log.txt. Ooh, error while opening. Hold on. Oh, it looks like it's trying to reach it on HTTPS. Is that what's been happening this whole time? Let me try something else here. So we're gonna ignore 0. Give me a debug log to log.txt. That's not it. Yeah, so that's the problem here. It's defaulting to HTTPS. See that? Got it. Okay. No wonder why it's not finding anything. That's weird. So hold on. Even though the URL says HTTP, no, there's no redirect. Because again, if we use the curl that we did earlier, right? Let me take this out. Right? The curl works just fine. Talking on HTTP, everything is good. No problem. I wonder if that's a bug in Fuff. Oh, apparently there's a TAC K option. Well, that is annoying as shit. So, this is why I always tell you, you want to go battle test so you understand exactly what your tools are doing. So even though in the URL, we specified this is an HTTP connection, right? But when we look in the log file, so we debug the log, post connection to HTTPS failed in here, right? So even though we explicitly set HTTP, we had to add the TAC K in there. Well, that's annoying as shit. Hold on. I want to see how this is going to look now. I'm just going to do a small set. We'll say 4,900 to 5,100. And then I want to go through and try this again. Wait, what just happened? Oh, I know why. Okay. I'm an idiot. Forgot to put in the sequence. I was like, what is going on here? Something is rotten in the state of this command. Oh, it's because I should just done sequence. That's why. I was getting all my commands mixed up in my head. All right, 4,900 to 5,100. There we go. I think that is a bug. Hold on, while this is running, let me go look at the... Let's see the issues real quick. There's 164 open issues. Oh, wow. Some of these have been open a really long time. When was the last release of this? It was released last year. Okay. Oh, I'm not going to mess with it too much. It is good to know that's what it was doing, though. So we did see the one hit on 5,000 as the fuzz keyword. So that would have told us where we were looking for it. So, okay, awesome. So now once we had that, then we could come through, do our little curl action. Boom. All right, so now we see we've got HTTP metadata DB in here. So let's just go poke at that in the web browser. Always nice to go check it out. So if we submit that, what do we get? We get an href2 1.0 and also latest in here. So let's go try latest. Okay, cool. So what we're seeing is like basically like a pre-rendering of what's in there. So we see another href2 events. We see host name. We see another one to latest in here. Profile, but then we also see one to secrets over here. So let's go check secrets. All right, we're getting some more stuff. So we have info. We also have Kubernetes goat in here. Let's go check info first. All right, maybe it's not, it doesn't need a trailing slash. Info, okay, we got a base 64 string. Let's go decode that real quick. Let's go see what we get. Let's see, Cyber Sheffy. Okay, just says metadata database service. Okay, nothing fancy there. But we had another one in here where if we... Oh, no. Look at that. What was this one? There was the other one, which was Kubernetes Goat. So let me grab this real quick. In fact, it looks like, yeah, Kubernetes Goat. Submit. Okay, we get another base 64 string. And there's the KubeGoats flag. Ta-da! Now we actually should be able to go through and potentially get some other items out of this. Let me double check real quick. No, I think that's pretty much it in here for this one. The goal was to get the Kubernetes flag. Let's look at the actual walkthrough in here. Hints and spoilers. So that metadata, by the way, this metadata DB right here, this is usually on all these systems, if you go hit like 169.254, 169.254, this is a pretty common like who am I port in here. So let's go hit that real quick. We'll see what we get come back from it. So if we come back to, where was that? Here? Here? Close Fuff. Don't need Fuff. Don't need Mythic. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that right now. Don't need that right now. Alright, here we go. So let's try this. What if we can try and hit this guy? If we get the exact same thing in here, the metadata DB was basically kind of linked over to this. Yeah, so that gave us the KubeGoats one again. So that we submit that, boom, we get the same thing. Okay. So that's one of the reasons why SSRFs were so bad in cloud environments, because once you found it, the system was running in a cloud environment, something like AWS, and then it has this 169.254 address exposed in there. And then if you can go reach that, then you could start potentially leaking information out of it. One of them being, a lot of times there would be some kind of like access token in here. Especially if you go start hitting other things that were in there. Let's see, was there anything else to do on this one? I don't think so. Once we got the Kate's goat flag, we were good. Okay, so that one was pretty quick. Nice and easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. There's a reason why I avoid a lot of food colorings for a lot of systems. I was like, you know what? Just let the food be its color. Actually, hold on. So here's a good example. Metadata in the Google Cloud Provider.
Files are big. It takes like 50 megabytes to store 4 minutes.
So this is our VM metadata, right? So every virtual machine instance stores a metadata server, and your VM automatically has access to the metadata server API. So it can go through and it's used for host maintenance, guest attribution, all sorts of other data in here. And it runs on that 169.254 address. So this is pretty, I think, standard between like GCP, AWS, Azure. I don't think it's default in Kubernetes. Let me check real quick. Yeah, so usually you're only going to see this in like AWS, Azure, and GCP. It's not typical for like an on-prem cluster like we've got. So, very cool. All right, excellent. Nice, simple one to get things rolling. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Container escape to the host system. Nice. I do love these. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, so this scenario, going on from that one. So we covered all these other ones. We just finished the SSRF one. Lets us kind of leak those. Those secret keys, they could be used. Very bad. Actually, they've done a lot, to, I think, to kind of restrict it down a little bit, but there is still things you can do with that. Pole, I have heard of the Tron script, and I do like it a lot. If you're going to run that, make sure you get the official copy from Reddit. And I know that sounds weird, but that's the distribution point they had chosen. At least last time I have looked at that. Yeah. Don't download it from GitHub. Always go to the Tron script subreddit. Yeah. I have used Tron in the past, like whenever freshly installing systems, like to try and basically cut out a lot of the microslop bloat. So, but yes, that might be some way. If you could test that out before you go wiping the system. Wiping the system is the nuclear option, which means it will work. But if this works, then cool. Yeah, I like the Tron script. God, I can't... How old is that thing? Because I was using that a long time ago. Hold on, let me go to the changelog. Maybe they've got dates in the changelog. Let me see. That was just updated 2 days ago. 2,600 commits. Damn. What's the oldest? Let's see. When was it? This is not going to be a good time for this. Let me see. I think this thing's been around since maybe like 2012. Hold on, let me expand this range a little bit. I'm just curious about something real quick. Yeah, I don't think that was set for 2013. I don't know when it actually came in here. Okay, clear. All time. I'd like to go back and see, like, what's the oldest one. Let me do, like, plus 2,600. Okay, so here's the initial one. So it was initially, like, being tracked on GitHub since 2014. I think it's actually older than that. It's an old-timey school at this point. Dang. This script is in middle school. I remember when it first came out. I'm old, Greg. I'm old. Yeah. Yeah, because it used to be you could only get it on Reddit. Then they started doing some tracking of it on GitHub, but there was always the warning, don't download it from GitHub. Always go get it from the official Reddit. All right. Anyway, so let's look at the next scenario for Kube Goats. So this scenario is showcases the common misconfigurations and one of the error-prone security issues in Kubernetes, the container environments, and general security world. So giving privileges that are not required for things always makes security worse. Hint, hint, least privileges, hint. This is especially true if the container, for containers and Kubernetes. So you can apply the scenario further and beyond the container to other systems and services. Yep. So it looks like the idea here is we're going to be at a privileged host system. And it looks like it's maybe mounting the underlying host system. I don't know why he's got it set up twice here. Let's see. So the story is, most of the monitoring, tracing, and debugging software requires extra privileges and capabilities to run. So in this scenario, you'll see a pod with extra capabilities and privileges, including a host path allowing you to gain access to the host system and provide node-level configuration to gain complete cluster compromise. Ooh, there it is. Okay, so this one is on 1233. So let me go pull that up. Oh my. They just drop us right into the pod. We don't even have to do any web hacking. All right, cool. So, okay, nice. They just dropped us into a, oh, what's this called? Forget the name of it. It's a terminal. Hold on. I remember the name of this. The Gotti bundle. Dang it. I don't remember what this one is, though. Xterm. That's it. This is just a browser-based Xterm. Yeah. That's it. Hey, Woods. Thanks for coming online. Is that Woods Rally Sport? Like for rally racing? Because I got a buddy who's way into that. Let's check the mount here. Oh my. There's a whole lot of mountain happening on this container. It's a very happening container. All right, so we got the typical overlay. Okay. Ooh. Oh, in it, for a second there, I was like, why is this NTFS? No, it's NSFS. Oh, I forgot what NSF is. Yeah, I don't remember what that is. Hey, the Mac is in the house. What's up, Bobby? We are just continuing on with doing a little bit of Kubernetes basics and ponage, having some fun stuff in here. So one of the things that you can get a lot of information by running the mount command, anytime you get onto one of these systems, Linux or container or whatever, you can gain a lot of information about maybe how highly configured the system is. In this case, you see this sucker has a ton of mounts, like mount points already configured in here. So with that, we can see that, okay, we're probably in a container because you see how we've got this overlay right here, overlay on root. Okay, so we know that that's an overlay file system. That's 99% chance you're probably in a container when that happens. All right, let's see what else we've got in here. See, another Docker overlay. Let's see. I'm just browsing through these real quick. There's a couple of temp FSs in here. Those can be useful sometimes, but it's a little bit niche sometimes. Oh, there we go. So here, this would get this right here. If we saw this temp FS on run secrets Kubernetes IO service account, this would be the dead giveaway that we're on a Kubernetes, not just in a container, but we're in a Kubernetes cluster right here. Okay. So one of the other things we can do is we can abuse, like, what are they called? I forget what it's called, but I know the term you use. Let's see. Hates cap. What is it? Cap sh is the term that is the command that you use. Yeah, so let's look at the Linux capabilities. I thought it had a different term to it, but basically that's what you're looking at. And this is actually something I'm not super familiar with, so we'll be tinkering around with that a little bit because I want to see like what we've got for the various capabilities for these. I've done it a little bit. Mostly it was for allowing non-root programs to run as, what is it? So typically like whenever you run a command on Linux, it can't bind to a port below 1024. And if you try it fails, you have to run it as root, or you have to at least start the program as root. So there's a way to like add a network capability to that binary, and then that binary itself would be able to bind on like port 80. So that's one example of it. But if we run like cap sh, hold on, tac print in here, then we see we've got a lot of the Linux capabilities exposed to this container, and we're already running as root. So we have the ability to change owners. Like I said, a lot of these I'm not familiar with. Kill programs, set group ID, set user ID, a whole bunch of these in here. So let's go look at something real quick in here. Let me see if this blog explains how to abuse some of these. So like, yeah, net admin. I think that was the one you need whenever you're going to, and you would see that show up as cap net admin in here. Actually, hold on, let me look at something real quick. Let me do this. Pipe grep bounding. Yeah, so there's that part right there. And then let's do translate commas to new lines. There we go. That's a much more readable list in here. So we have caption. Saw net admin in there. Yeah, I don't know if net admin, I mean, granted, the Linux capabilities in here, I've not tinkered around with these a ton. I've done them a teeny bit whenever I had to perform very specific exploits in the past, but then I promptly just brain dumped it. It's something I've committed to long-term memory, much to my chagrin. I think set fcap may be something useful. I don't think ch rooting will be a, but we also have set sysadmin in here. Let's see. This is setting the capabilities. So what capabilities can we abuse for this? Dropping capabilities in a security context. One of the ones you can also do is, oh, I forget what it is. There's another one that you can do with this where you'll have, maybe it is netadmin, but it allows you to do a packet capture. So then you could start doing a packet capture almost like you were on the actual Linux system. Which one is that? Hold on. Hey, Hex, what's up, man? Okay, so that one is capnet raw. It's not netadmin. I think netadmin is the one that will let you bind below 1024. But if you have capnet raw, you could start doing a packet capture and start then, in theory, just exfil that packet capture, go through it in something like Wireshark or whatever else, TCP dump if you really hate your life, and start digging through it. Yeah. Just chilling. I'm doing pretty good, man. I had to work today, unfortunately, because there was a screw up with a report that I need to get churned out. And so I just basically spent all day fixing it. But it's all right. The kids were at my brother's house having a blast. They love him more than me anyway. Yeah, it was mostly just an administrative problem, Hex. So for anybody who missed it at the beginning of the stream, I was working on a report, and then I realized that as I'm digging through it, I was missing like a big chunk of data. And it was from one of my teammates that I was working with on this op. And so I message him, and I notice he's offline, so then I try calling him. We can't get a hold of him. Turns out he was in the middle of doing his OSWE exam for OffSec. And that's a 48-hour exam. So he was like phone off, locked in. I couldn't get a hold of him till like end of day Friday, yesterday, to get the data. He had the only copy because it didn't, for some reason, copy up to our like file sharing system. So I was like, damn it. All right, guess we're working Saturday then. Yeah, he was, after, I didn't realize that's why he was out. I thought maybe he was sick or something. So I was calling him, I was texting him. I was like, dude, I really need this data. Actually, I didn't tell him what data because I was texting him. But I was like, dude, check your messages. I need data. I know, right? The RNG gods smote me. I did OSED. I was locked in for 3 days, but you did sleep in between though? Oh, good. Dude, yeah, my wife was asking me because I was explaining the situation to her, like why I had to work. She's like, "Are you going to do any more of those exams?" I was like, "Nah, babe, nah." I'm at the point now where exams are a very diminishing return for like what I'm doing. It would provide better ROI for me to go through and like build something and put it up on GitHub. And I can tell people, say, "Oh yeah, by the way, check out this GitHub repo that I made." It was basically a detailing of like this reverse engineering stuff or this exploit development stuff, things like that. Took the OSCP 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure I want to do a cert for a while. Dude, I'll tell you, I missed the OSCP the first time I took it by one screenshot. I realized at the end, I was like, I had done everything, and I went through and I was going through and doing the report, and I realized I didn't have a screenshot for a certain evidence, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to stop there because I was on the margin of passing it at that time when I took it. And then when I realized I was missing that screenshot, I was like, that just put the nail in the coffin. There is no way I was going to pass. I was like, damn it. However, the next time I went through it, so I had just started into offensive security when I took the exam the first time. And was really nervous and was scanning way too much, right? I had way too much data to go through it, and it caused analysis paralysis. So did okay on it, but the second time I went through, absolutely crushed it, BTFO'd that thing. And by the end of the 24 hours, I had already pre-staged my report, so I could basically just fill in the blank with data. And after I did that, at the end of 24 hours, I had the exam done and the report submitted. It was just bam, bam. So, and that time was after I had already been working as a penetration tester for like a year at that point. So I had a lot of reps under my belt. I'm now working on documentation for AI model risk. Like for the model itself, or for like, are you talking about like systems that just use language models? I wanted to get the OSCD because I wanted to learn exploit dev. Oh, dude, I would like to learn more about exploit dev because I really enjoyed it when they had the buffer overflow in the OSCP. I was kind of sad they took it out. I understood why they did, but I really liked that part. I wish I had stuck with it more whenever I first went through the course. I'm still bad at CTFs even with 7 years of experience. Dude, I suck at CTFs. I really do. That was part of the whole reason why I was building Hackbot, was because I wanted to do it for fun. I don't like CTFs, but building something to go play a CTF and get like a reasonable baseline of what some kind of like automated attacker system might be able to do, I thought was going to be pretty fun. All right, hold on, let me read through this. I don't think this is going to go through what I want. No, it's not. Let's see. Let's see. Abilities to escape container. Let's see if anybody's got a nice write-up on this. Who's RBT Security? I'm not familiar with them. So common exploitation techniques use the cap sysadmin, cap sys ptrace. Oh, I believe that. Hold on, what is that one? Yeah, that's process tracing. Yeah, so if you could go dump memory, I think you can use this one to like dump memory of critical systems and get information out. Yeah. How's Hackbot going? It is not complete. It is currently at a standstill because over the time that I was working on it, basically all of the kind of like agentic structures just blew past it because I only worked on the weekends, right? So I'm currently going through and doing a complete rewrite of, not a rewrite, but like basically like a re-architecture of it. And honestly, I haven't been paying a ton of heed to it. I've just had other stuff kind of come up. But we were building some ancillary tools for it to work with. So for example, the Mythic MCP server, we're going to need that. We did kind of set up a home lab also. In fact, this Kubernetes cluster is part of it. So this current lab that we've got has basically, it's a vulnerable Ludus lab that's got a ton of SCCM, ADCS, and a Kubernetes cluster built in there. So we're going to work on, it's in like a very, very basic state right now. So eventually what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll obfuscate some of the stuff. We'll make it so it's not quite so obvious that, because for ADCS, the template is literally called like escalation 3, right? It tells you what the escalation path is for. So we'll go through and we'll rename all those templates. We'll change some stuff on it. And then what I really wanted to do was put something on the Kubernetes cluster to house a web app that was going to be tied into LDAP that then we could use to basically treat the Kubernetes cluster as like the external face, compromise the web app, compromise the Kubernetes cluster, and then get into the actual like Active Directory. So forcing the system to pivot and to use Mythic as it went through. Oh, Hackbot helped me realize how bad I am at coding as well. Sim, absolutely. Ptrace lets you inject memory. Ooh, that might be handy too. Let's see what they've got here. All right, so dangers of the privilege flag. So if the privilege flag is set on a container, it lifts all security restrictions imposed by the container runtime. Oh, okay. So normally these would be restricted down. Access to kernel capabilities like cap sysmodule, cap sysadmin, or cap netadmin. Ability to interact with device drivers, kernel modules, and host namespaces. RIP. And also access to proc and sys. Hold on, let me go look what's in proc in this thing. What procs do we have? Oh, yeah. So if we were running in a standard container, we would not have any of this. See that? No, none of this shebang would be happening. In fact, hang on. Let me see if I can do something real quick. Hold on. No. Hold on. We have our curl command right here. Oh, wait. Hold on. You know what? Let me... Is this one still alive? I think it is. It is still alive. Okay. So let me show you what this is. This is an old one we had inside of another container. So this is Poseidon running inside a different pod inside Kubernetes, right? So if I come over here and I do a shell and we'll just do ps tac aux, right? We're not going to see a lot of processes come back, right? We see just a smattering, right? Even though we're running as root, but this is not a privileged container, right? So compare this to what we just saw. Where was it? Hang on. I got to find the right window. Oh, wait, it's this window. No wonder why I can't find it. I'm an idiot. Compare that to this list. Just everything, right? So we're not having process isolation happening. We see all the processes running on the underlying worker node, right? Because these pods don't deploy on the cluster managers. They deploy on the worker nodes in here. So boom, we see all this stuff. Nice. Hackbot? Yeah, it's up on the BlaiseBits GitHub. You can see it in its current state, but just be prepared for that to never see another update, because I'm going to start working on it and probably give it the proper name which I wanted, which was Stinger AI, named after the supercomputer from Night Team 4, the video game. I think the next time I get to do a game stream, which I have no idea when that's going to be, we'll try to wrap up Alan Wake remastered, because I really want to finish that game again. It's been a long time since I played it. And then after that, maybe we'll play some Night Team 4, because it's a bit more puzzly. It's a lot of fun. All right, so the project you're working on is for due diligence to support the GRC team. Basically, implementation of the model, usage, performance, risk in the environment, etc. So not red teamy yet, but more about specifications. Gotcha. That is an important part. Do you find it easier to apply Active Directory attack paths or external or web app stuff? Dude, I love Active Directory. I like getting into it. It's my jam. It is my jam. And in fact, until all of the kind of AI stuff exploded, I was getting ready to go really hard on Azure and AWS too, because a lot of times those are integrated into Active Directory environments. And I get that request a lot from my clients. Like, hey, we want to go through and we want you to, we're going to seed you access into our Active Directory environment as a low privileged user. Your job is to go access this crown jewel on Azure or GCP or AWS. And usually it's like 80% of the time AWS and like 19% of the time Azure and then like 1% of the time GCP. I really want an Old Gods of Asgard shirt. That would be pretty cool. Yeah. Bobby, I don't remember if it was you, Bobby, that turned me on to Night Team 4. It was somebody in chat, and so I hadn't seen it before, and I really liked it. Oh, you want further proof that we can see every process running here? There's Poseidon basic.bin, right? And so we see it running as process 3347190. Hold on, what does it show up as in Mythic? In here, it just shows up as 237, right? But there's the only Poseidon basic running. So not only am I seeing every process running on this container, I'm seeing every process running on every container in the system, right? Boom. So that's coming from ptrace, I think. I'm having a hard time figuring out what to focus on as it relates to getting into Mac OS security. Most of the stuff I can think of is MDM and then AD integration stuff. So a lot of the stuff that happens in Mac is some of the stuff that you do in the Linux world can kind of translate over to Mac. It's not my strong suit either, but there's a lot of really cool like Mac tradecraft starting to come out. People have been it's been kind of strong and coming out over the past, I don't know, I'd say year. Maybe not more than a year, but there's been a lot of cool stuff coming out with that. I'm trying to think. Mac tries very, very hard to keep everyone, and I mean everyone, to their detriment, even the security vendors, out of the kernel. So EDR on Mac is kind of hot garbage because the telemetry that you have in Windows is magnitudes more than you get like on a Mac system. But also, Mac is a bit more hardened when it comes to those kind of things. Check out the Black Watchman from Allison Smith. It's like the predecessor to 19.4. So, Bobby, I actually reached out to the developer for 19.4, and I need to go reach out to him again because he said he was going to send me... Hold on, here, I got it. He said he was going to send me some of the files for it, but I never really followed up with him. I didn't want to bug him. Let's see, what is this? Become a secret agent and investigate paranormal activities in dark Lovecraftian universe. Oh, nice. Oh, so this is another ARG type game, alternative reality game that they've made. Will help you explore complex puzzles in-game, but also in real life, interacting with real websites, companies, and NPCs that we created as part of the universe. Very cool. Ooh, that's awesome. The predecessor to 19.4, huh? Pills good. That's not creepy. What is that? Look at that thing. No, 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 burn it. Burn it. I forgot where I even messaged him. I think I messaged him maybe on, I forget. I have to go dig through. All right, anyway, let's go look at this some more. So, hold on. Where is this? I want to see what this blog post actually recommends. So we can also check to see if the var run Docker sock, in this case, they're doing Docker, but we're doing container D. So hold on, if we're bound to that, can we see that? Let's do ls var run. Oh, that just goes to run. Okay, so we have lock, secrets, and system D. Wait a second. We have access to system D. What is that file in there? Oh, the file command isn't found. Have to update. Nice. Ubuntu Noble. That's an old version of Ubuntu, I think. Black Watchman's really creepy, but you'll love it. All right, I might have to check that one out too. What's funny is Agent Zero, like, is always interested in all the creepy stuff that I'm watching, like ghost videos or like scary movies or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, can I watch?" I'm like, "No, you can't watch because the last time you watched, you had nightmares. So no, I need you sleeping through the night." This is so slow. All I want is the file command. Come on, finish. I'm just curious to see what this container thing is right here. I should have just catted it, come to think of it, because it's only 7 bytes, right? Or, oh, I also would have piped it over into hex dump, but I doubt hex dump was on this container. All right, hold on. So while it's doing that, let me see what else we've got in here. All right, so in here he's talking about potentially for web exploitation. Here we go. Loading a custom kernel loading a custom kernel module for a reverse shell. Nice. All right, so assuming we already have a reverse shell inside a privileged container, here's the paths we can take to escalate access. In privileged containers with access to the capsys module, which I believe we have. Dang it, I keep trying to alt-tab back over to it. Okay, just die already. You're killing me. Let's see. Okay, cool. We do have capsys module. Nice. So if we have that, so then we can prepare the host for the kernel module compilation. So what we do is we do a makefile for building the Kubernetes LKM reverse shell. What is this? Hey, caveman. How hard is it to go from Docker to Kubernetes? Well, actually, you asked 2 questions. First thing, everything's going pretty good. We're just tinkering on with a little bit of Kubernetes hacking right now. And it's a big difference going from Docker to Kubernetes. But you have to understand Docker first because Kubernetes is like an orchestration layer that sits on top of Docker. So in Docker, your container is the basic unit of work, but in Kubernetes, your basic unit of work is a pod. And a pod is a collection of one or more containers in there. And also, Kubernetes has the idea of replication, what's it called? Like replication copies, I think, and can let you make multiple copies of that container to handle like multiple workloads. So it's for scaling horizontally on systems. Will I be questioning life decisions if I try to learn it? I mean, there's a lot of companies that run Kubernetes in some way, shape, or form. So no, I don't think so. Is it way over engineered and shouldn't be as complex as it is? Probably. Is it damn vulnerable by default if you don't go through and customize it? Absolutely. But for the most part, learning it is never a wasted step, depending on kind of what you're doing and what you're working on. But there's a lot of really cool things you can do. I think we're getting ready to do one of the cooler ones, which is we're abusing what's called a privileged container. And so when you have a privileged container, normally a lot of these capabilities that you have like in the Linux kernel would be dropped. They'd be gone. But because this is a privileged container, we can see like every process running on the host. We could actually go through and we have CapNet raw, so we could do a packet capture and see every packet coming in and out of the server, potentially capturing sensitive information that way. There's also cap ptrace in here, which someone's mentioned, I haven't tried this before, would let you inject process memory. So then we go through and we go and inject our own, what is it? Basically our own backdoor, our own C2 implant. So lots of fun stuff. Now I was looking at this though, because he mentioned particularly preparing, let's say, so this scenario, it's talking about like if you already had a sudo TTY or some kind of reverse shell on the system, what could you do with it? And in here, he's talking about our object here is going to be like preparing for it. So this is a make file. And then writing the custom kernel module. God, I've never written a kernel module in my life. I'm already doing some insanity with OpenClaw and Docker, so I'll add cubes later. Yeah, if... For something like that, I don't know if you'd get a lot of benefit to Kubernetes. Really, the benefit is either you're researching it for like managing infrastructure, and I mean big infrastructure, like stuff that you need to either run, because you have a middle ground in there, right? You have Docker, which is like your base containers. And then you got Docker Compose, which is when you're running groups of containers. And then like the version of Docker Compose on steroids would be Kubernetes, where you can actually not just have one copy of it running, but like multiple copies running with load balancers and having it like spread traffic amongst multiple pods. It gets kind of insane. So I've got a Python system accepting incoming connections, acting as a proxy to multiple OpenClaw containers. Oh, cool. Neat. If you're looking at setting up a like really multi-tenant system, especially with isolation, then Kubernetes might be able to help with that. But that is a lot of work in there. A lot of work. Yeah, if you're looking at actually making it like a real like multi-tenant system where the tenants are truly isolated, then yeah, Kubernetes could probably help out with that. I encountered an organization that was using Kubernetes to provide a virtual work environment for their data scientists so they could use Jupyter notebooks or whatever, and they had home directories sitting on an S3 bucket. So kind of like virtual machines, and this seems kind of bizarre use case for me. That's not at all what Kate's was intended for. No, there are way better ways to do, to do that. I mean, depends. Actually, I guess it depends on No, that's a shitty way to do that. That there's no other way to say that, because if they just had to go through and like share machine resources. So because in a Docker container you can go through and you can selectively expose certain like hardware components, and NVIDIA is real big on that, like isolating things. So if you're going to be running AI workloads, you could run them in a container. And that's what I do sometimes. However, it would make more sense to have an orchestration layer running on that server with its own authentication setup, and then let the machine learning scientists have like a VM or something that they could actually connect to and then remotely connect to that other system. There's way better ways to architect that. That is not a good use case. Let me see something here. Where are they referencing this? Because I've never had to build a kernel module before. So this is a little bit of an experiment right here. Oh, so here's the reverse shell command right here. So just reading through a little bit of this code right here. So here's the actual kernel module, right? So they bring in all the standard Linux ones here. Oh, so all this makefile is doing is telling it to, I believe, compile this C code into like a shared object, a kernel module. So just an object file. Let's see. So what else do I have in here? Static for declaring work, callback work handler, our connect back initializer, which here's our argv. Now hold on. So why did they do it that way? I'm just kind of breaking down their C code a little bit here. Because I'm trying to figure out why they had this defined, the reverse shell command defined here, and then do the string copy against that, but then also populate the argv in here. I'm just reading through this real quick. Actually, I need to go run and take care of something real fast. I'll be right back, guys. All right, I'm back. I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. I just realized that Peaches was still outside. And poor baby, she's an indoor princess. She 100% is. And she's been outside for the last 2 hours, which is usually about, I don't know, hour and a half more than she's used to. So when she came in, she gave me an earful. I also needed to go talk to Sock real fast. I just find it wild that they had their kind of like their home directories as S3 buckets. I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on what kind of work they were doing, but that seems like such an odd use case, and there's probably way better solutions for that. I mean, if they had a huge amount of data that they needed to churn through, it makes sense having that as an S3 bucket. Let me see. So this is just plainly going through and having it do a bash reverse shell. So here, so after they go through and build this, let me look at the rest of the steps here. So they get that down. So we use Python or SCP or kube controller copy or mount a writable volume to transfer the compiled KO module to the container. And then how are they executing it? Curious here. Oh, they just do insmod. Okay. That's it. Okay. So if that's the case, I believe what we could do is... I don't know, the Poseidon payload is so huge. We could go modify this, though, to where when it runs this, it just runs... It just runs that Poseidon basic bin instead of going through and running bin bash. Oh, I'm an idiot. That's what they were doing. Here's the reverse shell command, right? So they've got that as a command. They copy that command over to command buffer, and then they pass that, and then they null terminate it. That's what they were doing. All right, I'm an idiot. Overthinking it. Kaiju, what's up, man? Been making some decent progress on TryHack Me, but having some retention issues with the stuff I go through. What you are experiencing right now, Kaiju, is a minor version of what happens to every penetration tester that does more or less contracting work or does basically non-long-term ops, right? And by long-term, I mean like minimum 8 weeks, sometimes longer than that. I think the longest op I was ever on was 5 weeks. But essentially you get used to a certain loop of what's happening, right? You're finding problems, you're suspecting problems, you're researching, you're analyzing, you're synthesizing, and you're testing your hypothesis about where potential security issues exist. And then once you're completed with it, then it's like, boop, the exact commands and the structure of everything you might lose. But the main thing I think about is trying to understand the flow of what you did to go there. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, I did this. We found it was this type of vulnerability. We abused it to get this other type of vulnerability, and then we exploited it this way. And just thinking through like the raw capabilities of things. Yeah, so don't feel bad. That's usually what happens with everybody. Now, the biggest thing you can do is brain dump without understanding, right? You go through and you think about, like, so anytime you're working through something, I don't remember exact commands. You guys see me searching command syntax all the time, right? I have to use a command a lot to have that syntax like locked in. And it doesn't help that the security tools change their syntax all the time. And oftentimes, your favorite security tool when you're doing an offensive assessment or even a defensive assessment of anything is probably going to change over time. And you're probably not going to run the exact same commands the exact same way each time. So I don't worry so much about understanding syntax as understanding capabilities. But the main thing is the understanding part. If you're just slinging commands without understanding what it's doing, then yeah, you're not going to get anywhere. You might as well just be spinning your wheels. So there's two parts there. There's the understanding, and then there's like the execution part. The execution part is not necessarily so important to remember, but the understanding part is, oh, hey, we abuse this thing by doing this. Okay, what was the how that we did this? Oh, I remember the tool, but not necessarily the commands. And then you can kind of reconstruct from there. Hang on one sec. I gotta blow my nose. Frickin' nose is itching. All right. So that Kate's environment was crazy and not secure. I could get to any other user's home directory from my test user. Oh, rip. So I dropped a text file into the lead dev's home directory, which just said, hi. We used to go drop text files. Like if they wanted proof that we could go touch data, we'd just drop a text file in there that said, hi from company name. Something like that. The really bad thing, though, Ken, is like if you can go read all their home directories, then you could go backdoor files that they've got in there. That's the real bad thing. All right, let me think about how I want to do this. We could have it go through and do two commands. Let me see. Where's argv local come in on this? Let's see. There's our void exit. I'm not familiar with kernel modules, so I'm trying to deduce like which way it's actually going to go through this. So here's the callback handler. When the callback handler hits, call the user mode helper with argv local 0. argv local, the entire array. Of course it would have been out of scope, because that would have been the fun part, Ken. Hey, Peaches. She was so mad at me when I let her inside. She was growling at me and barking at me like, you left me out there forever. I had to fend for myself. I didn't have food for an hour. Let me check something real quick. Hang on. I gotta drop into OPSEC mode because I don't remember what I was working on last in VS Code. I don't want to go docs and everything. Okay. Just some random documents I was looking at. Okay. So here's our reverse shell command. I believe we have that file hosted up in Mythic. Let me go check something real quick. I believe it's over here, maybe in the paperclip. Browsers? No. Where is that? Actually, hold on. I think it might be in services, and then if we go to the HTTP service. Now, those are the files in the container. Nope, it's not in here either. I know we've got this served up. That was the build parameters. Oh, I forget where to find it in here. somewhere in here, I know we've got the payload hosted, right? If we come over to this, and if we look at view metadata, or maybe it's view payload configuration, we've got it here, and I know we've got this hosted. Where is that? I don't think this is correct. Not only was that activity out of scope, it was also out of listering. Damn it, Ken. Damn it, Ken. Hang on, let me check the documentation here. Configuration options. No, it doesn't list it in here. I know there's a way over in Mythic to see which files are hosted in here. And I know it was just a wget command away, but I don't remember which one it was. What was it? Search payloads? Let me look at files real quick. Uploads, downloads, file browser, screenshots, event workflows. No, that's not it. That's our task. If we wanted to go through and see all the tasks we had run, here's our payloads. Damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not a dentist. No, where was that? I thought it was over in here. No, hold on. C2. Damn it, I think Cody's made so many changes in here, I don't know where that is anymore. Let me check the operation dashboard. Maybe we've got it up in here. Oh man, I asked Cody one time, the guy who wrote Mythic, to show me where it was. Where the crap is that? The only place that makes sense is it should be like in here. The only things you can actually like access are, we could view the config, which is, hey, here's the basic config for it. Oh wait, here it is, payloads. Wait, no, this is payloads connected to that callback. Let me double check that, hold on. Yeah, there's Poseidon basic.bin. That's it, hold on. I'm gonna make a new payload. Create a new payload. Poseidon. Base everything off of this one. Yep, use all the same things. Just call this Poseidon test, create payload. We'll let this build for just a second. Okay, built really fast. Now, if I go back over to installed services, and then if I look at the view config, here we go. So that is where it gets loaded up in here. Payloads hosted. Okay. So what we could do is we could actually use this IP address here. Actually, it wouldn't be that one. It would be on port 80 in here. And then have it go through and download that. Let me double check it real quick. Let's see. Should be port 80, because that's where the C2 channel is listening on. Plus, I don't basic that bin. What is it? Is it TacTac Insecure? What's this switch I need? Man, wget. It's that one. Because they couldn't choose something simple. Thank you, wget. Oh, you know what? I'm an idiot. This doesn't need to be HTTPS. This is a HTTP C2 connection. Yeah, there we go. Got it. All right. Let me get rid of that real quick. So that was the correct URL. I forgot. The reason why it looked funny is because I didn't name it anything special. I named it the exact name of it. Okay, so that's where you can see that. So real quick. So if you do that, where you host those payloads up in the C2, you come over here, click the drop down, view the edit, viewer edit config, and then bam, you see it right here. And so if you want proof of this, we can call this like Poseidon foobar, right? Submit that. And now if I try to go wget that one again, it gives me a 404. But if I come back here and I say Poseidon foobar, bam, it downloads. Okay, so that is where it is. It's listed in the JSON config. All right, good. I'm not going completely crazy. Just a wee bit crazy. All right, so now, here's the reverse shell. Here's our bin bash right here. If we wanted to, we could go actually make like a shell command to get this. What port did I do this on? I don't remember. Did it like on 9000? Yeah, we'll do that. We'll just steal a copy of this one. So this should be 10 dot... Crap, what was it? 10.9.10.250. 10.9... No, that's not correct. That's not the correct one. Hang on. What is this one? Oh, it is 10.9.10.250. Oh, I forgot that is where we're running Mythic. Okay, well that works. 10.9, 10.250. And we want to call back to port 9000. So that one should work just fine here. Okay. Let me copy this. We will take this over to, let's make a new directory. Make dir, we'll call this, which one is this? I forget which capability this was that we're using. It is Capsys module. Capsys module rev shell. Boop. Let's do that. Okay. So what we'll do is we will take all this code. We'll go put it into something here. Oh, what do I want to call this? What did they call it in the example here? I believe they called it... like Kate something. You know what we'll just call it? We'll just call it rev shell. So let me do a set paste, and then we'll there we go. So that should be good. But then we also going to need is a make file right here. So change that a little bit. So let's do it then make. Drop this in, and then we'll call this revshell.o. Just like that. And I don't think I even have the make tools in here. Oh, I think I need to do make all. What did they do? Make clean and make all. They just ran make. Oh, you know what? I think I didn't make that the correct file. Hold on. Let me double check, because I don't use make very often. Oh, it's make file. It's not. Yeah. It should be capital make file. There we go. Let's see. Oh, I think I'm missing this right here. I believe says I'm missing certain header files that we'll have to go get from apt. Yeah, let me see. Uname. Oh, actually, hang on one sec. There we go. I felt it coming. I had to sneeze. Let me because what we need to do is double check inside the container what our kernel version is. Do we have make? We don't have the make command. Apt search make? Can we just actually get this code on there and then go build it ourselves? Oh god, it's so slow. Okay, so here's our version number that we need. Copy that. Because then what we'll need to do is get that over to here. So we need to go install those. So I think it's... let's see. Linux, headers, tech, this guy. I believe that's it. Ooh, that is suboptimal. Because we need to make sure we've got a correct copy of the header files in here. Search Linux headers 515. Oh, this is such an old version. Oh man. All right, we're gonna have to eat it and see if we can compile it in the system since we have access to apt on here. Unfortunately, this is running dog slow. So we'll just have to be patient with it. We'll let it update the apt repositories because it should have its own copy for the Linux headers that we can go download and get. Make sure I typed that correctly. Linux tag headers. Yeah. Because this is using such an old version of Ubuntu. In fact, come to think of it, if I really wanted to go build these correctly, it would have to be on here because if I was going to go try and pull those, that system was running Debian. It'd make more sense. If I was doing this on an actual pen test, I would go take a Ubuntu VM that most closely approximates what's in the container, or just go get like an Ubuntu, like an older version of Ubuntu, something I knew that's running around the version 5.15 Linux. kernel, and then go through and use that to build the payload. Oh, this is so slow. I bet he restricted down the capacities of these Docker containers whenever he defined these, because they're expecting them to run on a lot chiller pieces of equipment. I've got a pretty beefy server for running this. Let's see. Actually, let me... Let me see that I can get. If there's another way to work around this, where I don't have to wait forever for those damn things to download. Let me see if I can do something real quick. Which version of Ubuntu is this? Let me just duplicate this tab, because it should get us a new shell in here. Possibly. Maybe not. And for some reason it's stuck at 46%. Ah, there we go. Alright, let me see. Do we have LSB release? No, we don't. All right, cat, Etsy, OS release. Actually, this is not a terribly old version of Ubuntu. This is 2404. Actually, you know what? I just realized this should be, well, let me double check something real quick, because let me see on the worker node. So that's the control node. Hold on, let me get back onto the worker node. Because those should be effectively... Clear all this out. Uname tac A. Oh, wait, this is running Ubuntu. Yes. I forgot. We did change this to Ubuntu. Hang on. What was that? Yeah. Yeah, these were running Ubuntu 2204. Yeah, this is running a slightly older version of Ubuntu. Okay. Yeah, alright. I forgot. I thought the underlying system was running Debian. If it's running Debian, we would have had a little bit easier time, but since this is running Ubuntu, we kind of do have to get this running on here. Killed package list. What? So I need this Ubuntu system so I can effectively build the kernel module so that we can run it to get the reverse shell. And the reverse shell should come back running basically outside the container. We're still kind of inside the container, but the delineation between the two is kind of blurred. We can reach way outside the container, but we're still in the container. So by creating the kernel module that gets us the reverse shell, that should actually put us into outside of the namespace of the pod and put us into the underlying Linux namespace. Not like a Kubernetes namespace. They're different. Should put us over into the Kubernetes, the underlying Linux operating system. So that would allow us to compromise the worker node, essentially. All right, don't hold at 46%, because I'm going to be pissed if you do. Now it's just taunting me. Now instead of hanging at 46%, it decides to hang at 45%. You suck. Let me check something real quick. Let me go over to the control node. Let's see, kubectl, get pods. Which one would this be? Hidden layers? No. I don't think I have netstat here. Oh, I do. Netstat, plant. Let me see which pod this one is in here. Yeah, so that one's running as... So it is running... Well, technically it's running on a different one. It's technically running on the worker node, but that's fine. We should be able to restart it from here. Let's see, this is 1233. All right, so what we can do is we can do a wide on this, and then we can grep for 1233. Let me see. I thought taco wide would give us all of this. Maybe we need all namespaces. I think that's... Which one is that? What is that command? Because we have multiple namespaces in here. Tac A, that's it. All right, so tac capital A. Damn it, which one is this? So the issue is, if you're wondering what I'm trying to track down, it's because this pod's not technically listening on 1233. We have a worker node and we've got a control node, right? The control node, the master node, whatever you want to call it, is the one actually presenting this. But as the data flows through, it's actually being forwarded by Kubernetes over to the worker node and hitting the exact one. All right, hold on. There's another command we can use. Kubectl. Let's do port forward. Will that list them? Maybe we need to get port forward? I don't think this is going to work. Hold on. I mean, it kind of is. Hold on. We did this with netstat. So the one listening on 1233 was process 815. So that's this one right here. Ah, there we go. So it's listening 1223 system monitor deployment. There we go. So I need to restart that one.
Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on again?
I'm trying to turn it off and on again right now, sir. Need to restart it. Also, hey, Hack, what's up, dude? Happy Saturday. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Just trying to get this thing. Let me see if the... I doubt the apt module's ever finished. They didn't. I gotta remember how to... I think it's just apt purge. We'll fix this. Let me see here. Apt purge, will that do it? I think. Let me see if apt clean all. Maybe that will do it. All right, now do apt update. Because the problem is, as soon as it gets to hit number 4, it hangs at like 45, 46%. So I was thinking, because I killed it last time while it was doing that, there's something corrupted in there that might be busting it up. Oh, apt clean does clear the local package? Okay, cool. That's probably the command I was trying to think of. All right, this is just really slow. So what we're doing, Hack, is we're getting ready to build a kernel module we're in a container right now that is a privileged container. So I wanted to build a kernel module to load it up to get us a reverse shell that we could then basically bust out of the container and get to the underlying host. So we're doing a container escape. I wish I had a simple command to clean my apartment. Oh, Ken. I don't even have to ask if you have children. You've got the dad jokes. I know they're there. Come on, why are you hanging right here? Again, 45%. Like a turd. Not you, Peaches. Hey, Noiby, what's up, dude? Dude, just taking a little bit of a side quest into some Kubernetes security and having some fun with it. I had a buddy that told me he was really deep into Kubernetes security, and he told me this probably, I don't know, maybe a year ago, but he kind of viewed Kubernetes as damn vulnerable by default, like Active Directory is in a lot of ways. And I just finished doing a lot of Kubernetes, I hesitate to use the term config review, but basically I was on an op where it was a lot of Kubernetes hacking going on. And it was a very, very super customized version of Kubernetes. So there was a lot of documentation reading. So I was like, I need to go back and refresh myself on some of the basics, because if you take a look like where normal Kubernetes is and like what they had configured, it's like, bam! They had every knob and switch tuned for security. It was kind of nuts. And so what I'm trying to do now is go build a kernel module to get us a reverse shell. However, I need the Linux header files, and I cannot get them. Actually, hold on. I can cheat pretty bad on here. Hold on 1 second. This is not intended. I just realized it's using the same kernel as the worker node. So you know what I can do? I could actually go build it on the worker node without having to go spin up a new VM. I have one child and she is a sufficient source of entropy to meet all my needs. Dude, are they ever? Are they ever? They're just little chaos engines is what they are. All right, hang on. Let me find out what was the one I needed. All right, let me grab this real quick. Okay, that's been installed. All right, so what I can do here is let me copy the make file real quick. So I'll take this. This is absolutely not like what is intended, but you know what? It's fine. What was the directory we're in, actually? Hang on. Close this. I don't need that. Let's see. What did I call this? Oh, that's right, because we're using the capsys module in here. So I'm going to make that directory, cd to that directory, and then I'm going to vim the make file. And for the make file, we'll get this to build the kernel module. Okay, undo. That paste. There we go. And then what was the other file that I had in here? Oh, you know what? I'll just go copy this back out of here. Copy. That'll be the easier thing. Okay, vim. Revshell.c. Set paste. Boom. All right, let me make sure I got this correct. So we'll have to have a netcat listener up on port 9000. So let's go do that real quick. So we've got that up. Okay. I don't think I even have make in here, do I? Make file 6. You're killing me, Smalls. Thing is, my kid's an adult now and still a reliable source of entropy. Dr. Reiki! I don't know what is going on. I don't know. It's supposed to play a sound. I don't know why the subscription thing is busted. It's so annoying. But thank you, dude. I hope you are doing very well. All right, let me take this out. Have that. There we go. Okay. Now let's see if we can make it. All right, so did we get the kernel module now? Okay, we have the rev shell KO. Okay, awesome. I don't even know what the IP address for this machine is. 10920.1. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to cheat real bad. So we're going to go local user at 10 .9.20.1. And then, what was the path to this? Right here. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to SCP over that. So it should be rev shell.ko. Copy it here. What was I think it was just password for the password. Password? Okay, there we go. All right, cool. So now we've got the kernel module. We just got to get it over into... what is that? We just got to get it over into the container now. How do I want to get this over to the container? We could host it. We could. What was that? I think it's Python. Simple.http, is that it? Damn it. What is it? This is the jankiest thing either. I gotta remember what that command is. Oh, it's http.server. I think I'm mixing some of these. I think it used to be just simple HTTP. Okay. So now we should be able to wget that down over into the container, as janky as this is, but that's okay. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. Okay. Kill that, because you failed me for the last time. Okay, whatever. So now let's get wget to HTTP. This will be 10.9.10.250. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I am just going to curl that quick. Oh, I gotta give it the port. I'm an idiot. 8,000. Okay, there we go. And then I want to wget that down. Rev shell that ko. Alright, so we've got that. And then now the command we need to actually run the kernel module. I think that was not insmod? What was it? Yeah, it should be insmod, but I don't think we have insmod on this box. Is that it? No, it's... I'm losing my mind. Things you never thought you'd forget, like just redirecting standard error. Oh, I did do it right. Okay. It's a, well, I did it partially right. I'm guessing we don't have this particular command line tool, which is going to suck. Normally what I would have done is not the... I would have done this to, like, redirect to like, dev null or something, but you know what? It's fine. It's work. I don't know if Ubuntu has this problem. I know Debian does. Well, sometimes when you're running as root, the path is stripped down. So there can be, like, system management tools like insmod. Oh, here we go. It's kind of finding it. It's finding it in the Docker overlay. No way. Do we have the entire... There's no way we have everything from the host system mounted, do we? don't have insmod. We have a bunch of copies of it because they're existing in some of the overlay FSs, which are essentially diffs. See how we have merged and diffs in here? And we've got some coming through from Snap. I wonder if that's the Snap package manager. All right. Hang on, I'm going to let this go for just a second. I think we could use this one right here. Rip. Oh, it links it over to Kmod. Oh, really? We have Kmod? Not found. Okay, but hold on, can I copy that now? So instead of going to... Instead of going to user bin, can I just go to bin Kmod? All right, there we go. So now we've got Kmod. Where did I put that? Okay, can I just Kmod the rev shell? Oh no, it can't open it because, damn it, it wants the libcrypto library. I didn't read carefully enough. Oh, you bastard. And I don't think I can... It's going to try and read this package list and then fail, isn't it? Is it going to get stuck at 45, 46%? Although, I really want to know this one. If you're wondering why I'm spending so much time on this particular one, it's because a very good buddy of mine just had to go through this almost exact thing and did it to bust out of a Kubernetes environment that was very well hardened and did that. And he told me some of the hoops he had to jump through. This is basically the gist of it, and was able to bust out of the Kubernetes environment and compromise like their entire network from that as a landing spot. So I am very, very keen to go through and kind of work on this and duplicate this exact same thing. And unfortunately, it's time to wrap up the stream. Damn it! You're going to hang at 46%, aren't you? Because you hate me. What are we working on? We're going through Kubernetes goats, Dr. Reiki. So, basically, you know, damn vulnerable Kubernetes. Where is it? Here you go. Yeah, Kube goats. And this one is, yeah, because as I was just wrapping up a penetration test that was very, very heavy Kubernetes and melting my brain. Thankfully, they had a lot of very good documentation on the customizations they had done. But I knew a lot of this kind of stuff didn't quite work. So I did go check for it, but obviously it wasn't there. So I wanted to go through and refresh myself. So I was like, okay, cool. We're going to go do a side quest over into Kubernetes land. So having some fun with it. Did a little bit of Docker and Docker, except this one was acting weird. I think it's because I think the latest versions of Kubernetes are tightening their configurations on Containerd. I don't know if it's I don't know if it had to do with the Kubernetes deployment of Containerd or maybe an update to Containerd, but this one was using Containerd. It was not using Docker as the backend. So it was a little bit different. But anyway, just having fun with it. Doing a little bit of hackage. One of my coworkers says there's always vulns in those environments. Guess it's similar to AD in that sense. Oh yeah, man. There usually is. The particular client I was just working with, though, like I said, they take their security very seriously. And so they have probably the most secure Kubernetes environment on the planet. They do some wild stuff. All right, let me see if that thing actually finished. I don't think it did. No, it's going to hang at 46%. All right, I'm going to kill it. What I'll do before next time is I'm going to get this pod restarted. I'll probably reboot the whole cluster just to clean it out. And then once that's done, we'll go through it. Unfortunately, I do have to wrap up tonight because actually I got to go back to report writing. That report is still hanging over my head like the executioner's axe, and it sucks. Let's see if anybody's over on InfoSec streams. Nobody on InfoSec streams. All right, guys, over on the Twitch side, if you have a raid suggestion, shout them out for me. Let's see what we got. How did I set up the cluster? It was set up as part of a Ludus configuration. So here, I'll show you real quick. I've got it up. So here, I think I've got it. That's our dev box. That's basically the one that we can use for testing. So we've got two Kubernetes systems in here. We've got the control plane system, and then we have our worker node, essentially. So it's set up as part of an Ansible role in here. So we just use the install Kate's Ansible role, and then that's when we told it, hey, go ahead and install Kubernetes Goat. And then down here, again, install Kubernetes. And this time, though, we told it this particular one is a worker node in here and who the default server is. So we already configured the default server up here, the control node, and then down here, we just told it which one it is. So it handles it really well. It does it with containerd, which is a little bit different. I'd have to go through and probably dig through the Ludus Kate's configuration to go see what the role's doing. I don't think it did anything super special around containerd because I know the guy who wrote it. And anytime you're deploying something for Ludus, particularly, you tend to not have it in the most secure configuration. But I don't know, I have to go double check it. All right, let's see who's on that might be doing something fun. Oh yeah, thanks, then. I appreciate it, man. Let's see. Science is on. They're doing a special bonus stream. Let's see. Nobody else really doing a whole lot over in science and tech. Let's see. Coppinger's on doing some vibe coding. Hectic is on. She's playing Arc Raiders. She's funny. Well, let's see. Not a lot of folks on right now. Yeah, I know. It's like, hi guys, bye guys. I know. Unfortunately, I can't keep the stream up late tonight because we've got that. All right, we'll just go. We're gonna go right over to Hectic. She's playing Arc Raiders. It's such a fun game. I wish I had time to play it. It looks really freaking fun. And so she's also studying cybersecurity, but she's streaming Arc Raiders right now. So, all right, guys. Unfortunately, that is where I got to wrap it up. Y'all have a fantastic Sunday tomorrow. I hope you get to spend time with your friends and family, get rested and recouped. It's not taking a day off. It is a tactical retreat, so you can go back fully into crushing it mode on Monday. I am going to continue crushing it mode because apparently I hate myself. So, everyone, y'all have a fantastic Sunday tomorrow. Like I said, spend some time with your friends and family, get recouped, and I want y'all to remember one very important thing, which is I love you. Peace.